has got a lovely engagement here. All his forces are well and truly ready. And I've got my grenadier drop there, and I'm trying to move round. But look, I've been overrun here, and I'm still trying to fight because I want to place defences and stuff.
Battle control initialized.
Hello there, comrades and cannon fodder. It's Dvoid here. I've got 1v1 multiplayer game here. I'm going to post 2 or 3 replays in this post, I think. But this one we're on at the moment, this is Woodlands. I'm using Russia, my opponent's using England. And because my opponent's in red colour, I've gone with my secondary green, as I usually do. Now, I've sent a rifleman, and he's heading to secure this oil derrick. Obviously, it's too far away from the enemy to reach immediately, but I like to have a rifleman with them just because the engineer's got to get there yet, and he's got to capture it, he's got to move away from it, so I just play it safe and keep a rifle guard with them, although the best thing is to send the engineer first, and then a rifleman right behind them. But this rifleman guards this guy, and the rest secure the closest oil derrick to me. Now, I don't leave these barrels intact, the ones on this side, because it's too easy to move around and snipe this barrel while the engineer's capturing it. So I always, there look, the scorch is on the ground, I always destroy that single barrel. It's just too easy to snipe the engineer with it. And this rifleman guarding the engineer, he makes sure the way's clear from this direction, and I usually like to have a couple of rifles do it, because a single rifleman on their own can easily be overpowered. 2 is a slightly different matter. It's a lot more effective. They'll stop 1 or 2 riflemen moving in with the defender's advantage, just to make sure that's the most likely angle of approach. We're both capturing, but I've got mine at the moment. You see, my opponent's protected their engineer quite well. And their infantry are spread out, but they could soon regroup them. So their engineer's got that capture, so's mine, and I've moved mine back here. Let's see what my opponent's doing with their engineer. Pretty much the same. And now I'm moving out, sending my rifle guards to standard positions here to make sure there's no early base push. And the same here, just to make sure there's no early enemy base push, because it can be a real problem if they manage to hold on to an ore patch here or here early on, because it stops one of your main expansions, and you don't want that. So, there's no way the enemy's going to be mining here just yet, but, as normal, because they've got these expansions. But you never know when you're going to get a base push early on, and it's best just to keep an eye out for it. You see my opponent's spreading rifles around nicely. It's important on all maps to do that. But this one does have a fair amount of open spaces, wide open spaces, plenty of rooms for armies to manoeuvre. So the only warning you're going to get is with your rifle guards. And there's the defender's advantage, look. And I've got my engineer moving forward with my main group of units and took out the enemy scout vehicle very quickly. And there's my engineers moving in. I mean, my rifleman, sorry, but obviously it's too late for the enemy engineer. Theirs is over there. And they've captured both oil derricks, just like me. But they have got a good network of rifle guards. So I'm trying to clear them out and make it look like there's only a vehicle on its own. I don't want them to know all this is here just yet. I'm going for this oil derrick. And there you go. So that as soon as an engagement starts, I have to get my scout vehicle in place. And they've backed off immediately because obviously they haven't got a scout vehicle. So that's the best choice. Just back off a bit. Get it replaced. Have I got my MCV? My second one? No, I've just started to build it. My opponent's ahead for his MCV. I wonder why. Maybe I've forgotten it. I delayed and forgot after I'd placed my service depot. You should order your MCV immediately. As soon as you place that service depot, there should be an ore truck just about finishing its build. And then a couple of seconds after you place that service depot, you've got nothing building at the war factory. So as soon as you place your service depot, that should be your cue to order a second MCV and queue up your tanks. Now I sent that rifleman, a couple of them, just to see, but they didn't reveal much. Just that my opponent's got his war factory at the bottom end of the map. And they've got their expansion, and they're moving forward. Very nice. Let's see each player's view. There's mine with my rifle guards here, making sure to look out for the enemy's first expansion on this side, because I've got my base, obviously, on my expansion's on this side, so I need to know. But I've got a lack of information telling me that this, I don't know about any of this. Let's have a look at early army values before engagements. 14,000 each. There's 50 credits in it. And I've got my APC. He's got is that an engineer inside there? Right. I've captured this, so that's when I put the engineer in there to get away. Now my units are in a bunch, and my opponent has got a good position here. I've only got 2 tanks in my APC. There. That's okay. My opponent chose to back away. Now I'd stop close to this oil derrick, but they may escape. Yeah, they got away alright. That was a nice disengagement. And I'm at 17,000, they're at 14,000, excuse me, in army value. Now I'm moving forward from my expansion. I'm moving forward here, and I'm leaving this in case I have to fall back, and I'm going to secure this. There we go. My opponent's engaging, and I haven't got my tanks in position because they're screening from this side where I'm expecting the enemy to come from. Now, I was in trouble for a moment, but now I've got tanks up front, they haven't. That's the end of that, and my reinforcements. So that's turned the situation around a lot. Now my opponent's bringing in everything he can. And he needs these tanks to group together with these infantry. And to train more as well, as I'm punching through here. And his ore trucks are fleeing to continue mining there. That's a good choice. Good decision in the heat of battle. And I got kind of caught off guard by this force approaching from the back. But I've got tanks in the right place. My opponent hasn't. These tanks are isolated. You're not going to get anywhere doing that. And there's the enemy's engineer. You see I've got a nice little base up here. But it's done damage by taking this ore patch away from them. And I'm at double my opponent's army value now. You see I've got an expansion set up here just to mine one of my opponent's primary ore patches. And here's my MCV moving in. And I don't know about any of this, look. You see, I think it's safe. That's the first sign I got of trouble. So I'm placing my war factory in a flame tower. But like I say, I didn't know about any of that. It would have delayed my attack here if I'd have known. I would have sent it up this way to cut that out. But as it was, I chose to go in this way. And I was unsure if I'd made a mistake. I didn't know if I was going to find a big army and get wiped out. So these guys are trying to move in, but obviously from the other side. But my 3 tanks, that's more than enough to screen these infantry and hold the enemy's forces in place. They're committed now, and now these are free to attack. Just got to take out the pillboxes before they can start doing too much damage. You don't want them shooting at your troops. But look here, we've got an engagement, and my opponent called it there. It was in the thick of battle, but yeah, they were struggling there. So it was right to call it. There was no threat at all to my base. So I'm going to go, before I forget, I'll go through the graphs and charts. Look at that, we were quite even for army value until the initial engagement started. Quite good. And very even for earnings as well. My finishing army is a basic force, 5 tanks, and basic amount of infantry. Excuse me, it's a 12,000 army value. And I've killed 159 of my opponent's units. My opponent's killed 123 of mine. I lost 4 structures before they gave it up. I suppose that was key structures, I guess. I destroyed 34,000 credits worth of my opponent's assets. My opponent destroyed 22,000 credits worth of my assets. It's too early for support powers. But I do have a radar dome ready to place. So I was well ready. I've got a second war factory, so that's all good. So I would have had tech fairly soon. Right, I hung on to 3 oil derricks, my original 2. And this one that I managed to capture, I held on to it. Got 7 ore trucks left. I earned 65,000 credits. My opponent earned 59,000 credits. Got a bit of cash left each. I was at 28 actions per minute. My opponent was at 26 actions per minute. Very close. And there's the scores. But I'm going to go to a second game and get straight into that.
Battle control terminated. Battle control initialized.
And welcome to the second game. This is a 1v1 multiplayer game, and we're on Timian map for this one. Same forces, same factions, and same colours. I'm in my secondary green colour, here in the top left. England against Russia. My engineer's first out this time, and for my opponent, you may as well, because there's no way the enemy is going to get there to attack your engineer before you can get a rifleman to protect him. And even then, you don't even necessarily need to do that. You can just put a couple of riflemen on his route to the second oil derrick, and that'll protect him. You just have to watch out for the players that are very aggressive in hunting engineers. Some are, some aren't. It's important in the early game to disrupt your opponent and gain early advantage, but, you know, each player has their own value they place on disrupting enemy engineers. Some players would rather focus on other things and build up for a few minutes later in the game rather than immediately put in resources into engaging the enemy over a couple of units. But I moved this rifleman and saw that my opponent hasn't got an engineer there capturing. He's left his engineer there for some reason. So I'm moving it heel up, so because this is the route between the 2 oil derricks that the engineer would normally take. You see mine's reached there. I've got a couple riflemen protecting him, but my opponent's left their engineer. Here we go, we've got an initial engagement. Yeah. Smart move, my opponent backed off there, and I've captured that oil derrick. Yeah, my opponent's grouping rifles together. It's gone 2 minutes, and they're not training rockets yet. So they may end up with an advantage in rifleman numbers. They already have got a few extra rifles. And I'm spreading out the odd rifle guard here and there. I'm overdue for placing my rifle guards at the edges of the map. Well overdue. And there goes the enemy engineer, and I should have left the rifleman in place. But then again, what a shame, I ordered him in the wrong direction. Oh well, it was close. He had a fair go. So my opponent's going, I'm assuming they're going to go for this oil derrick, surely. And they've got a few rocket soldiers and scout vehicle. My APC is about to roll out. And there's my engineer. Always leave a couple of rifles nearby to your captured oil derricks if you're not properly defending them, because if my opponent sent, say, even a vehicle and a rifleman and an engineer, say, I could pick off the engineer from a good distance with the extra view range, because you can see the enemy engineer while they're capturing your oil derrick. Obviously you've got the view range, so you can just move a rifleman in and snipe from the safest direction. Now my opponent's captured there, and their engineer's inside their scout vehicle. I've got a slightly larger starting army. And I'm looking for engineers placed at the edges of the maps. That's what there, and here as well. You know, just in case my opponent finishes his capture and then leaves his engineer, say, up here or along here for a capture later in the game. If my opponent tries that, these guys will find them. Now I've got the capture, and I'll show you, this is what my opponent can see. So they don't know that I've got this close to it, but they will also obviously approach from the right angle, and it takes a while to capture. Very close. Shame. Now I'm going to destroy it. So they have their engineer inside that vehicle. Yes, they do. Now I've lost mine. And they've got the second MCV, and they're choosing to move forward to an aggressive expansion. I would always recommend going for this one. I've said so before. And there's a rifleman checking out what the enemy are up to expansion-wise. And yeah, it's a good one to go for here because it stops me from moving straight forward and expanding after I could drop a refinery and move straight out. And it does prevent your enemy doing that, but this is such an important resource for transferring your ore trucks to when this finally runs out here. This can't support that. It'll be gone in moments with your, you know, with a few extra ore trucks. But this patch can handle the expansion phase. And my opponent's looking. That's why I chose to wait until till that rifleman was dead, until I placed the refinery. So, you see, my opponent doesn't know it's there. He saw that construction yard, but not the refinery, because I killed it, then placed it. So be mindful of what your opponent can see. If he sees, say, if he saw me place a war factory there, he's gonna, you know, it's gonna be a priority target. And there's my opponent scouting. Let's see what they've revealed there. And the flame tower got it. And let's see, I'm assuming they didn't drop their engineer off. Yes, the engineer died with the ranger. 14,000 army value to my opponent, 15 to me. Ranger and engineer behind, 15 each, 16 now to me. Going up nicely, and my opponent has got his force broken up a bit. I wonder, oh, they're obviously grouping together there. And I'm bringing my MCV, but my opponent has got a lovely engagement here. All his forces are well and truly ready. And I've got my grenadier drop there, and I'm trying to move round. But look, I've been overrun here, and I'm still trying to fight because I want to place defences and stuff. I haven't got any ready. And there, I placed a base defence, but it was way too late. My opponent's backing off from that. I'm bringing everything I can forward, but my APC's there. And when they didn't continue their attack, I thought, right, that's not good. I'll have to find out where they're attacking, and they hit here. Now, I've moved the APC, but this engagement kicked off, and it's looking bad, so I left it there, and look, it's getting shot by a tank. This is going to be painful, and I was overrun, falling back, and that's why I lost this. 165 kill bounty. That's painful. All my grenadiers and my APC wasted. So, and it probably didn't even catch my opponent's attention. They didn't need to do anything. That tank alone killed it. So that's terrible. And there's my main expansion fallen. But this small force, I should have sent it sooner. And I can't engage with that tank because it at least either needs to be with these or back here. Yeah, it's in attack move, so it stopped. And I've parked up my conyard here so that I can build an expansion soon. But I've decided things were bad, so I sent these ore trucks on a mission to crush. Now my opponent started falling back, so I immediately recalled the ore trucks, and I lost 2. And then this force arrived, and it engaged at the right angle, but yeah, it just collapsed very quickly. And now my opponent's got a few tanks. That'll reinforce this group here, if they need it. with extra screening units. They've only got 2 tanks there with it now. And engaging from this angle, I thought, right, that's good. That's an effective angle. Ah, look, he's a zealous technician attacking a tank. And my opponent's got a group here. Oh, look at that. Excellent move to regroup here with these and rally these forces together. And they've got this force of tanks. That's a nice mobile attack group. I would send it round this way to harass me from the other side. And look, they've grouped their forces together. Very nice. That's one of my favourite tactics, is if you have to retreat, fair enough. But if you've got other units, regroup and make an ambush force and make a stand against your opponent and turn things around. Just like my opponent did there, but luckily I managed to hold on. But they could have pushed. They could have finished that off. So it was a little bit of an error in judgment falling back there. I mean, falling back and saving units, you're never doing wrong there, but they could have wiped this out quite easily. So now they're falling back, but I think they're going to move around this way, look, yeah. Yeah, they are. They're going to attack from here while this force attacks. So I'm having to respond because I know these have been attacking. They destroyed the last of my assets here. So I'm grouping this force to resist them, and as I was starting the engagement against these guys hit, and I just had an eco transfer ready to in place, but I've saved the MCV. Flame Tower's doing a little bit of work, and these guys are falling back. So even though I am sort of driving them off, I'm losing valuable assets all the time I'm doing it. My opponent's got 20,000 army value, I'm at 7,000 now. And look, I'm chasing these forces that are fleeing, and there's an MCV with me, with my small army group. But now look, because they know where my army is, they can just attack somewhere else. And let's check the credit situation. I've got none. So everything's been bled dry. And I can't attack here. I could have possibly attacked there, although... Oh, look at that. Not bad. And this force is arriving to defeat these. Not bad. All tanks are gone. Now they need to fall back. Smart choice, you see. They know what they're doing. This player is falling back. Yeah, it looks bad, but it's a harassment, and it's a distraction, and it makes me feel like I'm being pulled one way to the other, and I'm only reacting, which means that's not... You can't win a game like that by reacting. 23,000 army value to my opponent. I've crept back up to 10,000 under pressure, but here I've got a main army meeting me, and this artillery piece is absolutely crucial. Without the artillery piece, I would have liked my chances a little more, but there's 2 of them. Very bad. See, there's my main army gone. Not much left there, but yeah. I was trying to get these artillery. Oh dear. Yeah, I got 1. Not bad. And this trying to escape. And I've still got 2 MCVs, but now my everything's under threat. I can't, I've got nothing to defend. Like a few units, that's it. So, now I'm trying to think, how can I salvage this? So I've got my thieves going to work. My opponent's got no cash. So it was a... You know, it was a lost cause trying to do that. I should have taken the ore trucks, perhaps, but I didn't know they had no money. So, I'm training here and trying to bring units, gather units. Just having clearing up my base. Maybe should have sold some more assets to gather some cash. But yeah, my opponent's got no money to steal, sadly. And taking losses, but I've got a capture underway here, stop them mining, and stop them mining there, and get a refinery of my own, although in this situation, what's it going to do? But it's still harassment. You don't let your enemy have the win easily. Make them earn it. There's a capture. So this guy's moving and he's just been shot. I was trying to go for the conyard. That wasn't happening. Sold up. And look, my opponent's even got a decent force at their base. And this here to interfere with any expansions I may try. So, there you go. I'm still building and trying to make a stand, a final stand, but, you know, you can tell how this is going to go. There's, I've still got 2 MCVs. Let's just look at the final cash. Yeah, I've got very little cash, but my opponent's got a proper income, so that's how it goes. I've got a capture here, the enemy power plant, a small force gathering to make a stand. And I'm thinking of setting up another base here. Now I've captured the power plant. Now I'm capturing another refinery, and it made me break the capture because he had to move out of the way or get run over. There, I've lost that MCV. I should soon realise the capture's not happening. There we go. I've got a capture on the way again. Underway. Losing this refinery. Starting to replace that. And he's trying to shoot. Look, these guys, they're in move command. I captured it. They had chance to stop that capture. So I'd have taken two of their refineries and a power plant. There, I've got them there. I've got my own power plant. There's a barracks. But no cash, sadly. And no thieves left. But I've still got two oil derricks counting down. But that's the end of the games for this battle. The end of my messing around. So I'll go through the graphs and charts. Look, my opponent's coming to finish it, and he's asking where I am, and I was like, I think my answer was that I've had 2 MCVs. It's over. I just had my last MCV, I said, but that's the point at which I decided to call it. I thought, well, why drag it out? There's nothing else I can do. I can't even practice anything else now. But here's the army graph, and I was slightly ahead at that point, look, and then there as well. But my opponent, their army got stronger and stronger, whereas mine took heavy losses and never recovered. Here's the earnings. Some ups and downs for us, but my opponent had a nice arc there, and then a stable amount. And they've got a couple of artillery, 15 medium tanks, and a good amount of troops. They've got a 32,000 army value at the end there. That's a solid army, very good. They lost a structure, I lost 33. My opponent killed 274 units, I killed 166, and they destroyed 89,000 credits worth of my assets. I destroyed 35,000 credits worth of their assets. No support powers in effect. Although they are building a radar dome and basics. Economy, they've got 9 ore trucks. They hung on to an oil derrick. There's that one. That's it. The starting oil derrick. My opponent earned 108,000. I earned 88,000 credits. Basics, I was at 28 actions per minute. My opponent was at 26 actions per minute. There's our scores and graphs and charts and stats, etc. So I'm going to add a third game to this post, a third replay. So basically I'm going to go straight to that.
Battle control.
Let's have a look.
Battle control initialized.
Right, replay number 3. And this is a 1v1 multiplayer game. This is on Kosovo map, this one. And I do like this map. I've featured it plenty of times in my posts, but I haven't been playing on it recently. So when I had a game today, I thought, oh great, I'll use that for one of my games. And let's have a look. It's Kosovo. I'm using Russia. My opponent's using Germany. I'm in my blue colour this time. Don't ask me why I chose my blue France colour, but I did. I'm using Russia, but I'm in blue. And I've got a standard pattern that I deploy my first units. Normally it's just 2 riflemen, one here and one here, to escort the engineer on his way to the first oil derrick. And this rifleman here destroys the barrels on this side and then guards the engineer from any approach from this direction. Whereas the other rifleman stays here and waits for the rest to regroup. And that single rifleman will tell me if it's safe to group my rifles there, or if I have to group them a bit closer to the barracks. because you don't want to engage your opponent with a single stream of rifles to get shot one at a time. You want to group a few, at least a 5 stack together to lead the way or to defend with. Don't send single rifles in one after another. You know, you probably get a 5 stack would defeat about 50 if you send them in one at a time. And my opponent's spreading out the rifles nicely, having a good investigation of what's going on. Now, my opponent's gone for the central, most contestable oil derrick, whereas I've gone for this one, and normally my opponent goes for that first, but finding it on, like, neutral, not captured, that suits me because they won't know I'm here. They'll know barrels are exploding, they'll have heard these and these, but they won't know where. Obviously, this is a very likely one, but they won't necessarily know that I'm here as well. Now, I've got that capture, and I'm also training my rocket soldiers who are building training now. And my opponent, they do protect their oil derricks and their engineers very well. And they've got their engineer moving back this way, but why has he gone all the way back to base to go here when he could have just gone this way down here? Maybe they went back to base and then changed their mind. There's my war factory. My opponent's got theirs. And there's my engineer. I'm going to group these guys together. Get the engineer safely back to the front lines. And look, my opponent's got this area secure. They sure do escort those engineers safely. There was nothing at the base. It's always worth paying attention to little features like that. You know, if your opponent's won for leaving the base unattended early, then game over them. Because you can just, a gren drop, imagine the damage a grenadier drop would do. I'd park the APC here, and then destroy one of these. If they place a pillbox, like get your grenadiers in 2 groups, what could they do? And then your APC could probably shoot the troops coming out of the barracks from here. There's my APC, and is 5 grenadiers in there then? There must be. And let's have a look at my expansion pattern. I'm holding this here. I've got my engineer. I've not got my second MCV yet. Let's have a look. Ore truck. But now my opponent's captured that. I've got my APC here. And is my opponent's engineer in there? No, it's not. And there's the grenadier drop. 4 men attack the power plant. The 5th man attacks the service depot. But then I saw this attack and thought, whoa, that's not good. But I got a second power plant and I thought, right, leg it. I've lost 3 grenadiers, but I've saved the APC and I saved 2 grenadiers. There they go. In the APC, nice and safe. And then the long way round to get repairs. After he's got to there, it would then move across this way and go for repairs there. Now I'm grouping my army together because I need to escort the MCV, but this is usually one of my first choices for an expansion. I've got my base under attack. This is retaliation from my opponent. Sometimes when you do things like the grenadier drop and that, it prompts your opponent to counter-attack and get revenge. It's a useful tactic that you can manipulate and take advantage of. All I'd have needed is this force here, and I'd have wiped all that out while they're trying to attack my oil derrick. So that's worth remembering. If you can provoke a counter-attack from your opponent, a foolish, reckless counter-attack, you know, that can be a very good way to win the game. But I'll move forward here with my first expansion when I nearly always go this way. Nearly always. Now I'm losing my second oil derrick. Very nice. Now my opponent's got 2 oil derricks, I've got none. But I thought that force, I haven't seen any vehicles yet, and I've got a couple of tanks and my APC, so I'm going to take it out while I've got the chance. My opponent had no hope of saving that lot. And they did very little damage, I bet. Very little. Now I'm thinking, right, that's probably quite a savage blow my opponent has just suffered. For taking out 2 oil derricks, they've lost their starting army. Let's actually look at army values now. Yeah, That's a crippling blow. And so I'm grouping up what I've got together. And my opponent has responded exactly as they should. Now, a lot of players would fall back and consolidate. That would give me control over the whole map. But I think their first idea was to actually go on small eco raids with these vehicles, which is a good idea, I think. And there's my Grenadier drop coming back. And he didn't have much luck, but he's called the enemy, and I know where the enemy is. So I'm attacking and catching the enemy strung out. And they've recovered a good army. Nicely done, very well done in fact. So I was a bit worried, but I went for it, and I've got my infantry production here. Yes, tank's in perfect position, a couple more on the way. I was concerned of losing all my vehicles. My opponent's got 5 on site and a ranger, but this chunk of troops of mine is, you know, they're packing a punch. And I've got that tank, I'm falling back, look, I'm not losing that tank because I need the view range. So, you know, keep it alive, let some more arrive, look. But just, you got to keep that tank alive because you need the view range while you're in the enemy base. You have to. And there you go. That's overrun my enemy's defence force. And I think they weren't prepared. That's all there was to it. They were caught unprepared. And it happens. It's so easy for that to happen. But there's replay 3 for you. So I'll go through the graphs and charts. Let's have a look. And yeah, they were slightly behind in army value, look. That we were even, but it was that engagement up there where I destroyed that force when they attacked my second oil derrick. That's probably that there, and it's put them way behind, look. But they're increasing in army size very quickly. It's very good, just as quickly as I was, if not more quickly. You know, it was just that loss there that did it for that ruined it for them, and it was I think it was provoked by my Grenadier drop. It provoked a counter-attack because they needed to do damage in return, and it provoked them into a reckless counter-attack and lost a chunk of their army, and that was that. And imagine if they'd have had that bit of that army intact as well as what they did have, plus, yeah, if I'd have attacked and they'd have been on the defensive and I'd have attacked and they still had that force up there that I destroyed, that would have been bad. Very bad for me. So yeah, there you go. The army graph summed up what happened very well. And look at the earnings, we're so close. This player is obviously a very good player for me to play against. I think a very good, evenly matched, because going by those graphs and charts and stats and what happened, it's good games. Good games, like, very good. Look at that. You know, it shows you how closely fought that was. And I've got a basic army. I've still got my engineer. There he is. And I've got 12,000 army value left. My opponent lost 5 structures. I kept all mine intact. My opponent killed 73 units. I killed 122. I would have thought it'd be more than that with the size of that battle. But my opponent destroyed 13,000 credits worth of my assets. I destroyed 26,000 credits worth of my opponent's assets. And no support powers. Too early for that. Still got the basics in production. And let's have a look at the economy. No oil derricks. My opponent had at least one. I don't think I destroyed that. I could have used an engineer to capture that very easily, which I would have done if the game had gone on. I could have sent him, in fact. But my opponent still hung on to them. Yeah, both of them. So, yeah, that was good work, that. Very good. My opponent earned 45,000 credits. I earned 43, so they did better for earnings. Quite good. Basics. My opponent was at 32 actions per minute. I was at 33 actions per minute. You see what I mean by how close some of these stats are and graphs between this particular player and me? It's very interesting, but it's a very close match. So there you go, there's the third replay for you. I hope you enjoyed those 3 games. It was just 3 games from today, and as I've said before, newer games tend to take priority because they reflect my current skill level and the current state of my opponent's skill levels, etc, etc. It's just a more current view of, you know, my Red Alert games, a more up-to-date view, although I do save any good replays and I intend to post them over time, but like I say, brand new games tend to take priority. So there you go, there's the third game. I hope you enjoyed those 3 replays. If you did, give us a sub and a like, and thanks very much for watching. So take good care of yourselves, and goodbye.
Battle control terminated.